welcome to another episode of Talk of the Trinity. Yes, we're on YouTube again. You can hit that like and subscribe if you want to. You must be getting sick of us. You must be getting sick of me, the summer signing Dave Martinez, Dance Dave, and of course of reasonable Baz, recently promoted from negative Baz because he said that Villa might win a few matches, and he was correct as well. So, because of that, we're keeping me, obviously, because I'm here. You can call me Will Forrest, you can call me Mr. Trinity, you can call me whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. I'm sure my mum's called me worse. I don't have Dave, I don't have Baz, but I'm looking at internationals now. We're looking at England and the World Cup squad, and because of that, and because it's the January transfer window as well, still at time of recording, we've done a little bit of scouting. We've looked at all the other podcasts. We've looked at the best podcasts, and we thought, who do we need to get back in on loan? Who do we draft in to the squad? And of course, it is the man, the myth, the legend, the seagull, Joe from Albion Obsessed. Joe, how you doing? It's been a long time, mate.
Yeah, it's been a while, mate, as I said. But yeah, that was a lovely introduction. Thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to going through what we've got planned today, and I'm sure it's going to be a good fun.
Definitely. I mean, we've been chatting obviously for a week or two over Twitter, and we were going to do a look at the Premier League and how we think the season is going to finish. And then we had a change of direction. We thought, do you know what? It's the World Cup soon. People are going to be getting ready to take their towels to the USA, to Mexico, to Canada. And Tommy Tuchel has got a lot of thinking to do. He's got a 23 to 26 man squad that he gets to take over there, and he's got an abundance of talent to take. And we thought, well, why don't the two most talented podcasters in all of the Premier League try and predict what Tommy Tuchel is going to do? And you, Joe, I think it's fair to say, and I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, you have said that you know who Tommy's going to take. You know what that 26 man squad's going to be. You're confident, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got Tommy Tuchel on speed dial, mate. He sent me the draft, and I thought this is going to be easy then. There's maybe one or two rogue shouts in there now. I'm looking at it back. Maybe a couple of players that aren't playing as much as they should be. But in terms of thinking of that England setup and that balance that England need to win a tournament, I think if we go with this, what I've picked, we wouldn't go far wrong.
I mean, every year or every tournament, it seems to be that we're saying we've got a really good chance of winning this. It's our best squad for years. And that's been going ever since David Beckham was whipping in free kicks past Colombian goalkeepers all the way back in the late 90s. It's probably going to be a 4-2-3-1, I would have thought. I'm not too sure. He likes to change his formations, doesn't he? Do you, though, think that regardless of the formation, that Tommy T is going to bring the Jules Rimet to England?
Oh, it's a really good question, and I never like to get too carried away with England because they've broken my heart too many times in my lifetime up till this point. Obviously, we've been very close. We got to two Euro finals over the last few years. So what is that extra ingredient England need? It's going to be really interesting to see whether Tommy Tuchel is that extra ingredient, a manager that can come in and knows how to win tournaments, knows how to win trophies, has that winning mentality. Obviously, we went through our qualifying campaign with flying colours.
Mhm.
Some might say, yeah, that's obviously an easy thing to do, but to go unbeaten, I think is no mean feat, no matter who you come up against. So yeah, let's see. I'm reserving my excitement for the World Cup because, as I say, I know what England can do to us, but I've just got that slight little "it's coming home" feeling.
I mean, you should try being a Villa fan and an England fan at the same time this season. The overwhelming urge to get carried away with things is there. I'm trying to stay level-headed. Brighton, obviously, still in the mix for Europe. You know, they're one of those teams who they put a run of form together and they start winning games, they're a formidable opponent. You've got to be thinking from a domestic point of view, we could be challenging for Europe, and then I get to go and watch England do well at the World Cup. That's quite a year, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been watching Villa from afar, and you guys are flying in the Premier League. My auntie's a Villa fan, as I've probably said on this podcast before, so she's getting all excited for it as well. It, for a Brighton perspective, things are up and down this season. We haven't. I think we've won one game in our last 10, and our form is worse than the relegation zone three at the moment. So the feelings are quite negative in the Brighton space. We've got two games, two home games coming up. Between now and by the time we play you midweek. So we've got Everton at home and Crystal Palace at home. So I think if there's anything but negative, sorry, anything but positive results in those two games, I think things could start to slightly turn um, on our young manager. But he's done okay up until this point. I think people are just very much still on the fence over whether he is the right man for the job. But um, if the club are going to back him, I'm going to back him. So we'll see what happens.
So it's lovely to hear positivity like that. You back the club, you support the club, not just the team, don't you? And Brighton, I've got a soft spot for Brighton, more so since you came onto the show that first time, and that such a good dynamic team, a fantastic way of operating. That constant bringing in players and turning them into stars as well, and the football that you play is incredible. It was under Graham Potter. Now with Hertzler, the way that his mind works. But I wouldn't worry if you're losing games by the time you come to Villa Park, because it is normally set in stone that if you're rubbish coming into playing the Villa, you will get your first win. It's when you've been on a run of 20 games unbeaten, that's when you don't want to play the Villa.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the soft spot from you towards Brighton probably improves by the fact that you beat us 6-1 and 4-2. So it's not been a happy time when we've played against you guys, but I'm confident that we can come and um stink up the place and bring you down to our level.
Well, we're on good terms at the moment with clubs. So let's turn to England and that 26-man squad. And as a guest on the show, I'm going to let you open with goalkeepers. You're going to go through them one by one. I'll tell you if I agree with my selections, and then we'll politely, if you like, challenge each other if we have a disagreement.
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm not going to go for the most obvious one first because I think we've probably both got Jordan Pickford on our list.
Yeah.
Um, the one that I was umming and ahhing with was Nick Pope.
Okay.
And it always baffles me as to why he is ummed and ahed over for England because he's class for Newcastle. Possibly should even be pushing Jordan Pickford for that starting role. But it always seems to be either him or James Trafford that come into that goalkeeping three in an England squad. So um, I did go with Nick Pope over James Trafford, just because obviously James Trafford isn't getting the game time anymore now. Donnarumma's come into City. Um, I think Trafford will probably should be pushing for a move away in the next few days from Man City if he does want to be in a World Cup squad. So for that reason alone, the fact that he's not getting any game time, I have gone for Nick Pope as my third choice goalkeeper.
I have not gone for Nick Pope, though he was a consideration for me for all the reasons that you've said there. He's got the height, he's got the reach. Remember last season, he threw a ball something like 80 yards into the opposition's half for Harvey Barnes to run onto and score a goal. He's one of those players, I agree completely. He's one of those players who you think, I'm not too sure about him, but there's actually no rhyme or reason as to why people shouldn't be sure about him. Um, James Trafford, I haven't even thought about him. I forgot about him. Is that he's been linked with the Villa recently, and I sort of think would I really want James Trafford at the Villa? Yes, he did well at Burnley in the Championship. But the player I've gone for, and I think you might like this is a right outside shout. Playing in the Championship, 29 games this season. He's played 2,000 plus minutes, 9 clean sheets, 33 goals let in, flying high at the very top of the league. Carl Rushworth, goalkeeper, obviously a Brighton keeper on loan at Coventry. He's got the grandest stage ahead of him in the future. I think that we might see him in a couple of these friendlies. There's been rumours. I wouldn't be surprised if on his incredible form this season, especially if Coventry get promoted, he makes it into the England squad ahead of Pope and ahead of Ramsdale and Trafford.
I like that. Obviously, Carl Washworth being a academy product at Brighton, he's had an incredible rise from maybe like 3 or 4 years ago playing for I think Worthing, and he was even being scouted for Barcelona at that point. So that's incredible. And his rise since then, obviously, he's been included in England under 21 squads. Obviously, James Beadle was the preferred goalkeeper last year when they won the under 21s Euros. So he's another shout as well for another Brighton goalkeeper that is coming through the
Mm-hmm.
ranks. I genuinely thought you was going to say Jason Steele though when you said I think you might like this. But yeah, Carl Rushworth. I mean, his ceiling is so high, and he's flying at the top of the championship with Coventry. They've had a little bit of a wobble of late, but yeah, I think as you say, if he gets that promotion with them, he's going to be right in the conversation.
Yeah, I wouldn't see why not. Beadle, he hasn't really set the world on fire, has he, at our noisy neighbours, if you like, down the road at the Blues. But you want to see young goalkeepers doing well. I think Rushworth's one for the future. And if Emi Martinez was to lead the Villa this summer, I would hope that we'd have our eyes over there. That I'm sure that you wouldn't be hoping the same. So you've gone Pickford so far. I've said Pickford as well. I know you mentioned we won't talk about him just yet. He is the obvious choice. Who's your second choice? Who's your backup?
Now this one pains me because I hate Crystal Palace with all of my heart.
You have to
Um,
select him.
it is Dean Henderson,
Yeah.
unfortunately. He's I hate saying it, he's a fantastic goalkeeper. There is no denying that whatsoever. Of course, I wanted him to be sent off in the FA Cup final, and I think it's an absolute travesty that he wasn't. Um, but you cannot deny that he has been a massive reason as to why Crystal Palace have been so successful in the last 12 months. Yeah, Dean Henderson.
Do you know, he's my second choice as well. I've been so impressed with him over the last couple of years at Palace. I remember going down and watching us draw 2-2 of them a couple of seasons ago, and he was fantastic, but he was effervescent in getting the crowd behind the Palace team, which really buoyed them in that draw. He makes fantastic saves. He was hard done by, really, at United when he was there after doing so well out on loan. Ironically, when I was thinking about goalkeepers, because I considered Nick Pope as well, and I thought if we had Pope, Henderson, and Pickford, they're three English goalkeepers who have all kept clean sheets at Villa Park this season, which isn't something that's that easy to do. But yeah, Henderson, I think Henderson's got a shout or would have a shout at being the number one ahead of Pickford if it wasn't for the great form that Pickford had been in this season. He's been incredible for Everton. It seems to, I know for the last few years, people have said he's going off the boil a little bit. He always does great for England, but he seems to have really picked it up this season for Everton, in my opinion.
Yeah, Pickford is for England, like he has been one of the most iconic players in the last 10 years for England. Or even 12 years at this point. So I can never look away from him. And I know that obviously he's had ups and downs with Everton. Everton haven't been excellent up until maybe this season. They've been pretty good. But he is just a fantastic goalkeeper, and he's got that edge about him as well that you want him in your team. You want him being that idiot between the sticks and going down and holding the ball when he needs to. So yeah, Jordan Pickford is as I say, one of the most iconic England players of the last decade.
Not bad at penalties either, is he, taking them and saving them? So Pickford, Henderson, and then we've gone a little bit different for that last one. So it seems that Pickford and Henderson are probably locked in for both of us. Defence. How many defenders are you taking to begin with, first of all?
See, this was the hard thing. I was divvying up the squad and I was looking over previous squads as well. And I was sort of counting how many defenders. But with a tournament, is that balance different to like qualifiers and stuff like that? So I've actually gone for, let me just count, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. I've got eight defenders. I've got two right backs, three centre backs with one that can play left back, and two left backs. So where should I start with the right backs?
Yeah, carry on. I've gone for nine defenders, funny enough.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got three right backs, though one can play either side, two can play midfield, two left backs, one of which can play midfield, and then four centre backs, one of which can play left back, one of which can play right back. But yeah, you carry on with your right backs.
I'll start with my rogue shout for right back, and it seems weird to me that this is a rogue shout considering the team he plays for. Obviously, given the season he's had, people will be questioning whether why is Joe picking him to go to a World Cup. But I have gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Hmm.
Um, of course, he's a world-class player. I don't think anyone can deny that. Of course, the move to Real Madrid hasn't gone anywhere near as well as he would have expected it to. I think he's had a few injuries, maybe obviously the change of managers, and Real Madrid haven't been excellent this season by any stretch. So he's probably been victim to that. Um, but I just think if you're needing a player with that world-class quality who has won tournaments, won trophies for his club, and he can take set pieces, he can deliver crosses. Like he's a shoe-in for me, despite what's going on this season. The back end of the season, he could have a resurgence. Who knows what's going to happen with him under any new manager that comes into Real Madrid. I don't think you can look away from him. So the Liverpool fans will be slaughtering me if they're listening to this, but Trent, for me, goes on the plane to the USA.
Yeah, I had him like as a backup to begin with, and then I had to put him into the squad. I For every reason that you've said there, you know, was he bought into Real Madrid by the manager who was managing him? We don't know because he signed that pre-contract, didn't he? Really, he knew he was going before Alonso joined, and now he's had those injuries. He comes into the team under Arbeloa. I mean, there could be another manager before the end of the season with Real Madrid. Who knows? But he does have that quality, and even if he doesn't start, he's a game changer off the bench. Does he play right back or does he play in centre midfield as well? Is one of those questions there. But I'm with you. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is lucky enough to get on that plane.
I'm glad you're with me on that one because that was the maybe the one shout in this team. Now I was thinking, oh, maybe there's another one actually in midfield, but we'll come to that in a bit. But I think there is the chance, a very big chance that before the end of the season, Jurgen Klopp ends up at Real Madrid,
Yep.
and we all know Jurgen Klopp and Trent Alexander-Arnold's relationship. It could be a resurgence. So just keep an eye on that one, people. My other right back I've gone with, and this one massively depends on whether he's fit or not, because if he's fit, he has to be the starting right back for me, is Reece James.
Yeah.
I think he is an excellent player. Going forwards, really dangerous. Can score free kicks as well. So we've got two right backs that can score free kicks and deliver set pieces. But also defensively, he's just solid and he's that big physical but quick right back. So yeah, Reece James is my other shout for right back.
So I've got two other right backs, and the one that was a shoe in, I put a couple of little asterisks next to players who I think will definitely be. part of the squad, and Reece James was on there. I agree. I think he's probably our best right back if he's fit. Not only is he powerful and he has that great delivery, he showed that at Stamford Bridge against the Villa. I mean, he put a corner in that hit João Pedro on the arse and went in. And then he hit the crossbar with a fantastic cross shot that was, he was deliberate. But he can play centre mid, and he's a captain as well of his club team. And you need leaders in that England squad to pick people up when things aren't going well. And we know that he's had troubles over the years playing for Chelsea alone, with where he's had to pick up his teammates. So I had him. The other right back I had, and I'll just throw him in now because I've got one more defender than you. He can play right back, he can play left back. He's had problems with injuries before, but he's been touted to go and join one of the big six, and I hate that as much as I'm sure you hate that because it's not true with Spurs being classed. But Tino Liveramento of Newcastle, I put him ahead of Trent because I think Trent can play that hybrid role of a couple of different positions. Whereas I think with Tino Livramento, you can play him against Panama, you can play him against any team really, and he would do a good job. He's good at attacking, he can defend, he can play right back, left back, and he's been an exceptional signing for Newcastle when he's been fit over the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, definitely. He was a player that Brighton were looking at when he was at Southampton, and a player that I was gutted for us not to get. His ceiling is high, um, but I think just in terms of the balance of the squad, I just went for two fullbacks on either side with one centre back that can play out wide. And I think even another one of my centre backs can play right back if needed, or has played right back in the past anyway. So that might give you a clue as to who my first centre back is. So should I move on to centre backs now?
Whichever you want to, whichever
Um,
you want to.
so the centre back that I'm talking about that I believe has played right back for Villa is Ezri Konsa.
Yeah.
I think this season, back end of last season, or even before that, you tell me you've watched more Ezri Konsa than I have. I think is the best centre back in England right now. So absolutely has to be in the team for me.
I've got him as one of the guaranteed players, and it's so nice as a Villa fan to see that he's getting the appreciation not only from the national manager but from the press and from other fans as well of other teams. Because ever since Unai Emery has come in, and even before then, he was a Rolls Royce for us. That tends to be the phrase that gets thrown around with him. He's so comfortable on the ball. He can play it out. He can tackle. He's got this incredible skill of getting fouled in the corner flag and winning corners, free kicks there. I think it helps that he's got Pau Torres next to him. He's very underrated at the Villa. But yeah, Ezri Konsa can play right back, play centre back. I'm 100% on board with you for Ezri Konsa being on that plane.
I knew you would be as soon as I put his name down. My next one is somebody that just got his big move to Manchester City, which I'm more happier or happier. That's not a word. More no, cut that. I'm happier to talk about him now that he's gone to Man City. Words are hard today, apparently. Mark Gahey. I think, his rise from Chelsea academy graduate to Crystal Palace and being that again, another captain.
Mhm.
Obviously he's not captain at City now, but that leader role has won the FA Cup, won the Community Shield in the last sort of 7, 8 months. So for me, I think it's going to be uh, a central defensive two of Konza and Gahey. I think that would be formidable, especially with obviously Reece James alongside them or Trent. We got defenders that are quick, are athletic, but are also really, really comfortable and technical on the ball as well. Um, so yeah, Mark Gahey for me.
Yeah, he's another asterisk one for me. Regardless of the Man City move, which I think can only benefit England because it's going to be a back four at Man City, whereas played in a back five or back three at Crystal Palace. Um, I'd argue that he's potentially the best English centre back at the moment, and I hate to say that because of Ezri, but you've said that Ezri is, so that's fine. It balances it out. It shows that I'm neutral. Um, his performances against Villa this season that I saw, and other games where he has that ability to get up the pitch. Scored a cracking goal against the Villa as well in the 3-0 Palace win against us, but he's shown he can play on the left side of a back, a centre back pairing. And if he's next to Ezri Konsa and we've got two right footed players, we need that. As you mentioned, he was captain at Palace. Konsa at the moment is captain at Villa because of McGinn's injury. Two centre backs who I bet 2 or 4 years ago we wouldn't have been saying would be starting for England.
No chance. It's a massive testament to their their coaches that they've had. Obviously, Glasner at Palace has brought Mark Guehi onto that next level, and Pep's going to do the same. And Unai Emery with Konsa. Obviously, maybe Konsa's taken advantage of that Tyrone Mings injury. Obviously coming in and having that time to hold his position down. And obviously the journey Villa have gone on, obviously getting Champions League, now doing well in the Europa League and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, it's two players that have over the last year gained invaluable experience to be two international centre backs. The other centre backs I don't know about you, but were really, really difficult to pick
Yeah.
because those two really, when I look at the Premier League, and if I take my Brighton bias out,
Mhm.
are really difficult to pick. And so I've gone for Dan Burn.
Okay.
Um, I think he's had a few injury problems this year. I'm not 100% sure. But him for England over the last 12 months, he's been a relative regular, especially in the last few squads. So there's no logic behind the two that I've picked other than looking at previous squads to see who Tommy Tuchel picked. Because I can't bring myself to pick Lewis Dunk, even though I'm the biggest Brighton fan going.
Mhm.
Um, I would love Lewis Dunk to be there, don't get me wrong. Um, but I've gone for Dan Burn and Chalobah
Okay.
only because they were the last two centre backs to be included alongside the other two. So, and I can't think of anyone else. Maybe John Stones, but he's had injury problems and isn't getting any look in at Man City at all. Um, Other than that, we're struggling. Maybe Creswell for Toulouse. Does he get spoken about? Fikayo Tomori, but then I don't know how he's doing over there.
Mhm.
So I've gone for the two sort of Premier League regulars. Obviously Chalobah, not overly irregular, but is still a good Premier League squad. So yeah, no rhyme or reason there, I'm afraid.
Well, Dan Burn I've gone for as well because I think he adds that physical presence, the height advantage as well at set pieces when you've got James or Trent whipping those in. He can also play left back, which he's done for Newcastle. And he's probably better as a left back for Newcastle. Newcastle fans might be listening, going, "Well, no, he isn't. Come on, you need to watch him a bit more." He has had his injury problems, but hopefully, in time for the World Cup, he can get back into that squad. And I did the same as you. I looked at who has recently been picked, and I saw Chalobah, and I thought Chalobah's having a decent season, but you sort of feel like he could be an even better player than he is if he wasn't at Chelsea. But Rossinia, I think, is going to do a fantastic job there. And maybe that gets him into the squad. I didn't pick him as my next one. I had thought about Tamori and then just forgot about him straight away because he's not doing a fat lot of Milan that we're hearing about. John Stones has been picked in quite a few England squads, but he's injured all the time. He's probably leaving Man City at the end of the season as well. I went, and I can't believe I've written this name down in many ways. It's not Lewis Dunk before you get your hopes up there. I can't believe I've written it down because his manager has recently been sacked. There's been times where he's been a scapegoat, a bit of people taking the mickey out of him, but he always leads by example. He's one of those players for England who will play well. He's got a massive head that you can get onto set pieces. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I put Harry Maguire into the squad.
I weirdly don't mind it.
Okay.
I really, for England, he's always been top notch.
Hmm.
I cannot fault anything he's done for England at all. So when you're thinking about players that have had major tournament experience as well, he won't start ahead of Konza or Gahey, but he's a pretty decent option to have if one of those gets injured.
Hmm.
Um, he's got that experience of being a captain a few times for United as well. So yeah, I don't mind it, strangely.
That's good. Let's see if we mind our left back choices then. So, who are your two left backs?
Again, it's a position that England really struggle with ever since maybe Ashley Cole. I think
Mhm.
that I can't remember the last left back, maybe Leighton Baines, but even then he wasn't picked as much as he should have been. Um, so I've gone with Lewis Hall to begin with
Yeah.
for Newcastle. I think he's got a massive ceiling as well, and I don't think he'll start. I think he'll be taken for the experience. Um, but again, I think is a good backup to who I believe will start at left back. Again, a very versatile player that can play in central midfield as well. Miles Lewis Skelly, I've gone with.
Ooh, interesting one there. I was very close to going with Lewis Skelly. I felt that we got quite a good left back, Paul, because you've got Jed Spence as well, who's had a bit of a renaissance at Spurs. I more so last year under Pochettino rather than under Thomas Frank. You've also got players like, I mean, if he's fit and he's played as a left wing back, I believe, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. You've got Solly March, who a long time ago got into the England squad, and he's obviously beloved by Brighton. He's a fantastic player, can pop up with goals, but probably suited more to a back five if he was to be played defensively. I agree with Lewis Hall. I think he's been very good for Newcastle. He can invert, he can play a number of positions. When you look at Football Manager and you're playing that, he covers pretty much every single one of the dots. My other left back, and I thought you're going to go with the same person, Mars Lewis Skelly for me hasn't really played enough or been good enough because of Calafiore at Arsenal. But a player who can invert, can play centre mid, plays at the back, pops up with goals every now and again. It's Mark Gahey's new teammate, Nico Riley.
Yeah, I was umming and ahhing over him, and of course he's been a choice for Pep, and when you look at players that Pep is picking, that was fun to say. Players that Pep is picking, um, you can't you can't really look away from it, and that's a massive oversight on my part. So maybe I hook Lewis Skelly, but no, I'm going to stick with what I've got actually because I was confident in this squad. But yeah, it's a massive oversight from me.
Well, so far we've agreed on 8 players, and that's not a bad basis. We could pick, a goalkeeper and a back four quite easily, and we'd probably have a lot of the same players. The only one that we'd maybe not be the same on is the left back, the starting there. What about midfield now? I've broken down centre midfielders and then I've gone for attacking players because I thought it'd be a free one. Is that how you've done it, or have you gone for midfielders and strikers?
Yeah, so I've split my squad into holding midfielders, attacking midfielders, and wingers as the same
Mhm.
category, and then strikers.
Okay, I can break mine down into that as well really easily. I can look at the double pivot players and then the winger attacking midfielders, strikers, and of course some of these players that we've got that I select in the pivot, you might have as attacking midfielders, you might have wingers who I've selected as strikers. So if we have those, we can acknowledge at the time. But what are you thinking then from your midfield pivots?
Yeah, as I look at this midfield, except for maybe one shout that might throw up a few question marks, this is probably the best midfield we've ever had in terms of depth as
Mhm,
well. So I'll go with my rogue shout to begin with, and I've only gone for him because of major tournament experience. And he's had an okay season with Brentford.
mhm.
I've gone with Jordan Henderson, and I know that his name throws up question marks every time he's included with England over the last sort of year or so. But you cannot look away from what he's done as a midfielder and what he can still do in terms of bringing that experience to a group who are sort of split on, you know, raw talent and experience. And we need that balance. I don't think he'll start. He will be just a squad player that's sort of like an extra voice from the sidelines. Um, but I don't think you can look away from him if you want England to be successful. So yeah, Jordan Henderson is my first pick there.
I've got Jordan Henderson for similar reasons because of what he's done at Liverpool, because he's had that experience recently in different countries and continents as well, and he's doing okay at Brentford. The one thing I do feel though is when you've got a 26-man squad, well, you can take players who you don't think will play or will play limited minutes. But at the same time, is that what, as a manager, is that what you want? Do you want a glorified cheerleader, or do you want to have 26 players that, if called upon, can win that game for you? It's a difficult one. I think if it was
I
me,
think
I'd go for the latter.
I think Jordan Henderson is a mixture of both.
Okay.
He is that glorified cheerleader, but he like with with the players that I've picked around him,
Hmm.
I don't think it would ever come to the fact that we would have to play Jordan Henderson. Um, but he's still a player that I think, if called upon, could come in and do a job next to a Declan Rice, for example, and bring that sort of level of calm to the midfield. So I can see why, but I think as well with a 26-man squad, you've got that little bit more freedom to include these types of players.
Hmm.
Obviously, in the past, it's been 23-man squad. So, had it have been a 23-man squad, Henderson wouldn't be anywhere near. Um, I don't think I would have included Alexander Arnold had it have been a 23-man squad. He's sort of like a rogue shout. Um, so yeah, for me, like I don't think it's as much of a risk as what it might come across as.
That's a fair enough point. I think that's a fair enough point. So who else have you got getting on that plane going, Hendo, I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, so one shout that would have been struggling to get on the plane had there not have been a managerial change is Kobe Mainoo for Manchester United. I think
Hmm.
under Carrick, he's going to come on leaps and bounds. He's going to be called upon. I don't think he was given enough credit for his sort of rise, sort of like what was it, about a year ago now, and he burst onto the scene and he was incredible, and we were like, wow, this guy's going to come into England and he's going to be excellent.
Hmm.
He's still that player. I think football fans are so quick to write players off and to say, "Oh, he was just a flash in the pan." He really wasn't. If you watch Kobe Mainoo when he gets a chance to play, his low center of gravity in midfield, he can sort of spin away from people. He can pick a pass. He's quick. He's strong for his age as well. I think as absolutely has to be on the plane if he has a really good back end of the season under Carrick.
See, I haven't put Mano in, and it's very much for what you've mentioned. It's not because I'm one of these fans who quickly forgets. It's more of, I mean, I might be. Who knows? Sometimes I go into the kitchen and I forget what I got him for. But for me, with Mano, he hasn't had enough game time over the last year. However, if he can get enough game time in the next 3 months and excel for Michael Carrick as he's starting to do and get those pundits again saying, "Ah, he's brilliant. He needs to be in this England squad. He can play as a cam. He can play as a centre mid. Let's get him on that plane. It's a 26-man squad." Then I'm all for him wearing the Three Lions. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I'll go for one player who I'm a bit on the fence with, and it might be surprising that I'm on the fence with him because last season he was excellent. He's done great for England when selected in a deeper lying role. But this season, his team are struggling, and it feels as though he's struggling a little bit with the team as well. I watched him quite closely when Villa um, won 3-1 at Villa Park just at the start of January, and that is Elliot Anderson. I put him in because I think when he plays for England, he's got that confidence. He can dictate the game. He's a good alternative to a Declan Rice as a holding player, though I don't think Declan Rice is a holding player, if I'm honest. But I've just about found a space because it's a 26-man squad for Elliot Anderson.
Yeah, I've also got Elliot Anderson on my list as well, which would have been the next player I would have mentioned. I think you can't look away from how important he was for Forest last season in terms of getting
Hmm.
that European qualification. They were so close to Champions League, it was unbelievable. Of course, they've had that big change. They've had a little bit of unrest with their owner and Nuno going and stuff like that. So I think that maybe plays into the fact that he's not had the best season this year. But as you say, given that freedom with England alongside a Declan Rice or anyone else, he is that confident player that can hold down a midfield position. So I wouldn't be against that. My next one, again, another player that I don't like to mention, but I have to mention, is Adam Wharton.
Yeah.
You can't look away from how important he is for Crystal Palace. And he's been excellent and is being linked with big move after big move. So again, another excellent sort of alternative to Declan Rice if he gets an injury. So I think we can both agree that Declan Rice is on the plane, can we?
Yeah, I've got Declan Rice on the plane. I mean, we've had a bit of a running joke recently on the podcast with some of the guests that have been on where they've said that Declan Rice will win Player of the Year for at the PFA Awards, and I'm very much no. Morgan Rogers, Yuri Tielemans. There's so many Villa players that should win it, but because Arsenal are going to win the league, then apparently we have to look at him. He's fantastic. I don't think he's a DM. I think he's more of a box to box player. And when he went off in that final against Italy, when it was 1-1, I was scratching my head thinking, why are you taking our best player today off the pitch? He's got the free kicks in his locker. He pops up with goals. He does so much for the team. And Adam Wharton, I think he's similar to Rice as well, as you've mentioned there. It's so easy to forget that Adam Wharton was at Blackburn just a little while ago. He's adapted to the Premier League. As you say, he's got all these big teams after him. And he as well is not a defensive midfielder. He's a deep lying, roaming playmaker who, even at 70% match fitness, is killing teams with his passing and his work rate and his endeavour. So, I mean, even if it's those two as the two pivots, that's a very good central midfield, and it goes massively under the radar because people won't think of Wharton as being as class as he is.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Another player that I have put in the midfielders category, but you could argue, I think many people would strongly argue that he's not to be in that category, but I have gone with Jude Bellingham in that
Yes.
that
Yeah.
area. Um, I just feel like a Rice and Bellingham double is something that I just love to see. Rice gives Bellingham that freedom to roam forwards, and gives Tuchel that tactical flexibility, in that middle area. Um, so yeah, I have gone with Jude Bellingham, and I know he's not had the best season for Real Madrid, but you even as an ex-Birmingham player, you can't deny that he's easily one of the best players in the world.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And as you say, he's not had the greatest of seasons at Madrid, but he's had injuries. And even when he's come back, he played the other week, and I remember seeing the highlights. And I don't like watching highlights of players because they're the best bits, aren't they? But he was playing one touch, two touch football past people and taking the mickey out of them. And when you've got someone like Bellingham, who I personally believe is better as a central midfielder rather than having him further forward, though, I mean, you hear the story about Bellingham at Blues. He was 22 because he was able to play the 8, the 4, and the 10, and no one knew what his best position was. So that's why he went with that number. He's incredible, and he's a future England captain. You know, he has to be on the plane. So we've got 5 players there that we've agreed with. The only one, Kobe Maino, and I probably would have put him in it if I'd gone for 6. The only other centre mid I could have thought of is Lewis Miley because he's doing quite well at Newcastle, but I, it's not his time at the moment, and I can't think of many other English centre midfielders who are going to be troubling any of those.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, but my next category is wingers slash attacking midfielders. And these are all players that can play out wide. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe only 4 or 5 of them can play in the 10 if needs be. Um, so I've gone, and I'll mention this guy first, because his team aren't having the best season at all. But there's no denying that Jared Bowen is the bright spark at West Ham, and has pulled them out of many, 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 many dark spots. So I've gone with him because he can play out wide and he can even be a backup through the middle as well. Um, so yeah, for just squad depth and bolstering those attacking options, Jared Bowen is on the plane for me.
I'm really sorry to the West Ham fans that listen to the podcast. I don't know how many there are. They might think, oh, Claret and Blue, yeah, why not? Um, I haven't even considered Jared Bowen. He's had a very good season. He's broken many records. He's captain at West Ham as well. And we've been talking about how important that is. I'm kicking myself a little bit. I think I wish I'd have put him in ahead of somebody else in here, but no, I hadn't gone for Bowen. Was he more of one of your rogue shouts, or is he a shoe-in for you?
He was, I was umming and ahhing over him and one other player. Um, so the player that I haven't included is Anthony Gordon.
Okay.
Um, it was between those two, and I know they play on different sides, but I feel like there are players that can play on that left-hand side that are better than Anthony Gordon. So I went with Bowen because I feel like we're struggling for right-hand side players. Um, but most of these players can play both if asked to.
So I went with Anthony Gordon for the pure fact of, and I was surprised to see this. He hasn't scored in the Premier League for something like a year recently, and I thought, well, then I'm going to have a bet on him to get the first goal in the Newcastle Villa game. I didn't, fortunately, and he got subbed off. He's not a player with relaxed confidence. He does well for England. He's, as you say, he's one of a few that can play on that left side. But at Newcastle, he always seems to get into these great central positions when they transition and attack. And I just thought, you do all right for England, so let's throw you in. So Bowen, Gordon, we've had a little bit of a difference of opinion there, but either one of them, if they hit form, Bowen is in form, will be an asset to the squad. Who else have you got in those positions behind the striker?
So I have included him as like an attacking midfielder slash wide player, but he has played a little bit deeper for Man City over the last few months. I have gone for Phil Foden, and I know for England he hasn't come up with the goods, and everyone thinks that that England shirt weighs very heavy on him. But I don't think he'll be a starting player over the other players I've got sort of above him. But he's just got that flair that could win you a game. So I absolutely had to go with Phil Foden. Playing for one of the best teams in the country, playing under the best manager that I think the Premier League has ever seen. So I don't think many could look away from him. Um, and I'll throw one other in there as well. I've gone for Eberiche Eze as well. I think can play on the left, can play central. has incredible ability, is quick, is technical, um, and stronger for the size that he looks as well. So yeah, those are the two that I've gone with for that sort of more left hand attacking role.
I've got both of those in. Phil Foden, I think, has been one of the best players this season for in the Premier League, especially English players. He's dipped off form a little bit recently, but as you say, he's played that deeper central midfield role. He can play on the right, he can play in the cam, he can play on the left. He's got wonderful ability, and you know that whilst yes, the England shirt does weigh that little bit heavy on him, it will only take one goal for him to get that Mancunian Liam Gallagher swagger and lead us hopefully to victories. And Eberechi Eze, I put him in. I wasn't convinced. He's been amazing for Crystal Palace. He's done quite well for Arsenal, but he seems to be having an up and down season a little bit. And it's probably because he's getting used to a new team, a new system. When we played them and Matty Cash opened the scoring in our win against Arsenal, he got hooked at half time playing on the left because he wasn't tracking back enough. But then he scored a hat trick for Arsenal as well, playing in the centre of the park. And you know that he's got it in him, that he's got the size, the strength as well. So he made it probably ahead of Bowen if I'd have done a little bit more research, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I agree with both of those.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The right hand side, before I reveal who I would start in the middle for England, in that attacking midfield, I've gone with, and this is probably the best right hand side we've ever had, Bukayo Saka and Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
And I know Cole Palmer can drift central as well. Um, but two world class players. And it's going to be a selection headache, a massive selection headache for Tommy Tuchel, working with all of these extremely talented players that only three of them can start really behind, I'd imagine, Harry Kane, if he doesn't get injured, that is. So
Mhm.
it's going to be really interesting to see how he utilizes all of this talent. Um, I don't think I have much to say about Saka and Palmer. They just speak for themselves, don't they? They just ooze class.
Yeah, they're both fantastic players, both left-footed right wingers as well. Saka, of course, is captain at Arsenal now, or has been for a lot of games. Both of them, I agree, two of our best right wingers. Jared Bowen, you could argue, is actually more informed than both of those this season. Cole Palmer, for me, isn't a cam. He's at his best when he's out on the right and you give him that freedom. Saka cuts inside, can take penalties as well. He's grown so much since that penalty shootout. I agree implicitly with both of those. I think that they both need to hit some form before the end of the season. And it'd be interesting, of course, see if Cole Palmer ends up at Man United, which I don't think will happen at all. But
No,
yeah, I mean, if push comes to shove and Tommy Tuchel, who obviously has got you on speed dial and you've got him on speed dial, says, look, I've got 10 of the players, but my right winger, I don't know who to start in this first match. Who are you nudging him towards?
I'm nudging him towards Bukayo Saka. I think he's just got that extra sort of aura about him over Cole Palmer. And I know Cole Palmer's got this massive brand and his stupid celebration. Um, but yeah, Bukayo Saka for
Which he stole.
exactly from a player that I am going to mention in a minute. Um, Yeah, Saka for me is that more complete winger, and gives you that width and can score unbelievable goals. And I know Palmer can as well, but Saka's just got that little bit extra for me. The player that he stole the celebration from, who will be my starting number 10 for England, is Morgan Rogers. I absolutely love watching that man play football. I think he is, yeah, a shoe-in for Premier League Player of the Season this year. Um, can score unbelievable goals. He can link up play. He's got that. that strength as well about him. He's got speed. He's just got absolutely everything you need to be a successful attacking midfielder, and Tommy Tuchel cannot look past him at all. Yeah, Morgan Rogers. You're the Villa fan. You tell me more about him.
Morgan Rogers is a shoo-in. He's probably one of the first names on that list of Tommy Tuchel. He's got to be top five, I would think, at the moment. Everything you've said there, I would agree with. He started slowly. He wasn't great to begin with at the start of the season. We played Fulham, beat them 3-1 at Villa Park, and Villa fans were mockingly applauding the completed passes that he did. That's how out of form he was. And then suddenly he scores a banger against Tottenham. And then he goes on and he keeps scoring banger after banger after banger. He's adding free kicks to his game. He's played the majority of this season out on the left wing, which is where he started for the Villa because Tielemans has been in the camp. But when you put Rodgers into that system that we have two cams and two strikers or a nine and a shadow striker, it's where he comes alive. And for me, the strengths you mentioned there, the running, the strength, the shooting, the passing, the dribbling ability, people can't knock him off the ball. But he's also got this humble arrogance about himself. He knows he's good. But at the age he is, he could get even better, and he could actually. I think he could. He'll leave Villa at some point, unfortunately, and he'll go on to become one of the best players in the world at at the time. Not necessarily one of the best players ever. I'm not saying he's going to be a Messi or a Ronaldo, but he could easily get up to those levels of a Jude Bellingham, in my opinion. So yeah, he starts for me, and him and Bellingham in the same team. Wow,
Yeah,
imagine.
that would be a magical thing to watch with those two, either in the 10 or Bellingham just behind him. And when, as you say, like Rodgers can play on that left hand side and has done for Villa extremely successfully. And he is one of the most dangerous players to receive the ball in the half space. You do not want to give him that area of the pitch because 9 times out of 10 he'll kill you. So yeah, Morgan Rogers, I'm so excited about what he could do for England. Is that it for your sort of attacking midfielders and wingers?
It is for me. I mean, that's five that I've agreed with you. There's three other players who I thought about, and I thought about another centre mid actually, who's had a decent uh, season before injury, kicked in at Everton. That was Dewsbury Hall. I think if he'd have carried on playing as he was, he'd have potentially had a chance. Three other attacking midfielders who I don't think will go, but deserve a mention. Noni Madueke, he's he's decent. He doesn't get the chances at Arsenal, and I think he comes under fire there quite a bit, especially when he came against Man United. The pressure got to him a bit. Jack Grealish has had a great season at Everton, but he's fallen off a cliff since he joined Man City, really. And he's got that injury where he's out for 12 weeks. The other player, and it's such a shame he's been injured for so long, because if you put him into centre mid or into the 10 role, he could have been fantastic for us. He never got chances under Southgate, James Maddison. Um, but and I think he could potentially get sneak into the 26 if he comes back and shows fitness over the last 10 games and shows what he can do. But at the moment, I wouldn't be going for him. So no, I've got no more attacking midfielders. I agree with five of your six there. So we're very close with this squad at the moment.
Very, very close. The three strikers I've gone with, and I was umming and ahhing whether to drop one of my attacking midfielders and go with four strikers just for that extra. But obviously Tommy Tuchel likes to just play with the one. So, um, my first shout is Marcus Rashford, of course, a player that you know quite well after his loan move to Villa last year. I think done relatively okay. Had hot and cold moments. I think, but for Barcelona, I think he's gotten that confidence back. He's gotten that belief in himself back. And I know he's not like lit the world on fire. He's not scoring goals for fun, but he's just looking like he's playing without the shackles of Manchester United all over him. So he wouldn't be my starting option, but he would be a very, very, very good option to have if either one of my two next ones would get injured. Um, the next one, so Rashford, I was umming and ahhing over him and Danny Welbeck.
Mhm.
I haven't included Danny Welbeck, just for full clarity. Um, but Welbeck has been one of the best English strikers in the Premier League this year. So you
Yes,
can't,
yes.
I know he's 35 years old, but you can't look past him. So there is a slight chance that Danny Welbeck goes ahead of Rashford. Um, my next one is Ollie Watkins. I think that the next two are so obvious. But yeah, obviously he struggled at the start of the year and then scored against Brighton and now he seems to be absolutely fine. So I'm glad we've removed that sort of duck off his back. And scored an excellent goal against Newcastle last weekend and I think is going to have a very, very successful end to the season. Obviously, you guys have just signed Tammy Abraham as well, so you could even see a little and large double up top, which would be quite fun to watch under Emery, I think. But yeah, I don't know what you've gone for your striking option.
Well, I take it that your third one is most likely Harry Kane as well. So we're free for free there. Um, Harry Kane, exceptional for England. Yes, most of his goals are penalties, but he's a leader. He knows how to win things now that he's joined Bayern Munich. Sorry, Spurs fans. Um, but yeah, he leads the line, doesn't he? Because he's got the players around him who can bypass him and get into the box. Um, I, Ollie Watkins, I hate to say it, I've ummed and ahed over Ollie Watkins for this because he's not had a great season. He got the goal against Fulham, then didn't score for ages. Scored obviously against you those couple of goals, which were the one was a right poacher's goal. The other one seemed a little bit more confident when he was running through, despite how well Van Hecker played in that match because he's phenomenal. Scored a great goal as well at the end, didn't he? But Ollie Watkins, the goal against Newcastle shows what he's like. So did the Chelsea goals. He's a player who always has a barren spell in a season for Villa. You'll go about 12 games, 15 games without scoring. And then before you realise it, you go, he scored 11 in his last 13. Ollie has. And he needs that confidence. So, and I think that Tommy Tuchel putting an arm around him and saying, you know, if Harry's not performing, you're my number one, gives him that lift. I consider dropping Eberechi Eze for Danny Welbeck. I think Danny Welbeck has been fantastic. The goals he scores and continues to score, particularly against Man United, which is hilarious. He shows that age is just a number. He could go on for years and carry on scoring goals at Brighton. He's found his home there, hasn't he, really? Um, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's had a great season. He offers something different from an aerial presence. But yeah, and Tammy Abraham, I hope I hope he's close to the squad if he doesn't get into it. But
I was gonna
for me,
say he could very much be a rogue shout if he kicks on at Villa. And like one of the first Villa teams I remember watching was the striking partnership was John Carew and Gabio Bonmahor. Little
mhm,
and large.
yeah,
Quick and target man. And I don't know, like Tammy Abraham and Ollie Watkins just give me that same sort of feeling. Could they strike up a mad partnership that gets them in the England squad ahead of Harry Kane?
I, I think if we see those two playing together at Villa, we see Watkins coming off the left, Tammy leading the line, and Morgan Rogers sitting behind him. So then you turn that into the attacking four that we have. And I forgot this player. He's done well at Villa this season. He won't get into the England squad, but Jadon Sancho as well. There you go, four England attackers. But Marcus Rashford, wow. I mean, last season he was great for Villa. I think what happened, he didn't score straight away. He got the goals against Preston. Um, Again, he's one of those English players who you guys wanted to give confidence to because he scored at the Amex as well, with a fantastic Rogers through ball. Um, he's done well at Barcelona. He's done a lot better than I expected him to. And he's got that confidence again. He can play out on the left. He can play up front. He's a big game player. Is Marcus Rashford? He absolutely ripped PSG a new one at Villa Park last season. Um, I, I, I would be so happy to see him get into the squad because he gets so unfairly criticised. That's not bad. I mean, we've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 players the same there in that squad. There's only a few that we haven't agreed on, but that's a strong England squad either way.
Yeah, exactly. And like just talking through it like that just reminds you like how lucky we are at the moment to have, so many options in so many different positions. As I say, like maybe left back is the only area that's letting us down on having someone that's got that incredible experience. But as I said, that oversight on Nico O'Reilly, who's been a starting option for Pep, you can't argue with that. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see what Tommy Tuchel puts together, and there's so many things to be watching over the next 4 months in the Premier League to see who can come out on top and who can sort of push their way into the conversation, because I think, as I say, 21 of those players are a shoo-in for both of us. There's not much room for other people to say, think about me. So it's going to be really interesting to see who's got that about them that wants to go to the USA and represent England.
And the abundance of talent that we got, even as we're talking it through, we're remembering other players that could be knocking on the door. I mean, Ruben Loftus-Cheek has been linked with a return to the Premier League. If he can stay fit, he could be in there. Lewis Dunk, if he can recapture his form, then why wouldn't he be one of the centre backs
I'd do
that
anything
goes?
for Lewis Dunk to be included. I would do anything.
You look at this England squad, and then you think, okay, we've got Croatia first game, then we've got Ghana, and then we've got Panama, and they're all going to be at times that suit us for kick-off. That we're the favourites in all of those games. How many countries have got better squads than us? But also, when you think to the next Euros, and I can't remember where that's going to be held at the moment, but when you look at that 2028 Euros, how many of this squad is going to be potentially there again? And can we
Yeah.
go on and do what Spain did a few years ago, and win back to back tournaments?
The dream is alive currently. The dream is alive, and it's, as I say, like I've been hurt by England far too many times, and I wish to admit. I've had moments with England where I've thought I don't want to care anymore. But then they draw you back in, don't they? They pull you in before the tournament, and the dreams very much live on. That we could see an England squad lift a major trophy. Another rogue shout that I just want to add in just before we leave, is, again, this is probably Brighton bias, so just ignore me if you don't want this shout. Would be Jack Hinshelwood. I think, given his versatility, given how important he's been for England under 21s and how good he was last year for them in their Euro squad, if he has a good back end of the season like he did last year for Brighton, I think he wouldn't be far away from the conversations. He's someone that can score goals. He's someone that can hold down a midfield double pivot, and he's someone that can play right back and left back. So if you're wanting a utility player, Thomas Tuchel, look no further than Jack Hinshelwood, please.
Do you take him instead of Jordan Henderson?
Now I think about it with my Brighton hat on, yes, I do. But I don't think you can look away from the experience that Jordan Henderson gives.
You definitely need experience in there, but I think players like Hinshelwood is such a good shout. And if they don't get into the World Cup squad this year, you'd hope to see them in future conversations for Euros and that. I
Mm.
mean, it's going to sound really daft. I wish that the managers had to pick a squad at the start of the qualifiers and keep that all the way through to the end of the World Cup or of the Euros, or at least to the end of the qualifiers, and then they could make changes, a bit like a Premier League manager. I've never been massively big on England apart from Euro '96 and getting caught up in the fever of it. Unless a Villa player's playing for them, and that sounds really bad, but I'm hoping that we'll have at least three of our own. And of course, I'll be cheering them all on, but I'm hoping that we get to see a Danny Welbeck or a Rushworth in there. Any of the Brighton lads. I've got a soft spot for you, even if you
Yeah.
do wear blue.
I know. Blue and white. Well, white is West Brom, so probably not actually.
Oh, I hate
Um,
them even more than
I
the
know.
Blues.
And we're Albion as well, so that must really stick the point. Two other players that I really quickly just thought of that we didn't mention at all. Ben White,
Uh-huh.
who obviously has had indifferent times with England and has fallen out with X, Y, and Z, but is excellent for Arsenal when he does play, in my opinion. And obviously, I've got a bit of Brighton bias towards him as well. But also Morgan Gibbs White, who had an unbelievable
Oh,
season last year. So, there are these players that are lurking around, waiting and ready to make our squads look far off of it. But I think we're pretty set.
Morgan Gibbs White, what an absolute shout. I'd love him at the Villa. I'd love him to come in and play the 10 role, even though we got Morgan Rogers, or to come in and play centre mid. What a fantastic player. And he's having a very good season as well at Nottingham Forest. Oh, that's a great one. I mean, you could carry on, couldn't you? You can always think of players. You can think of Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's done decently. Came on against Wrexham and scored those two goals for them. There's Archie Gray at Spurs who's played a lot recently. He
Tyree
can,
Mitchell at Palace,
yeah.
good left
Tyrone
back
Mings, of
option.
course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Adam Webster.
Jason Steele.
Exactly. Bobby Zamora, no, no, that was too much.
Don't, because Gabby will be calling up asking if he can be included in the squad. I think that we pretty much got those ones nailed on. I think either squad would be fantastic. It'd be great to revisit this when the squad is announced, if you fancy it, and we can say whether Tuchel's had a mare or not with his selections on an individual basis and who should have been called up. But it's been great talking to you again, Joe. Thank you for jumping on, and
No worries.
hopefully if you're available, then when it's Villa Brighton in a few weeks, few months time, then you can jump back on and we can have a little bit of chat about that game.
Yeah, more than happy to, mate. It's been great to connect with you again, and yeah, always happy to help.
So there you have it. Tommy, we've made your job so easy for you. You've got 21 of the players, just pick the other five. And we've even given you additional players that we hadn't thought of at the time that we thought of on the spot. You don't need scouts, you just need us to. You'll be absolutely sound. But the one thing for sure is that we're all going to get behind the lads. It'll be come on England on the days, but until then, it's going to be a thank you, Joe. Cheers, Tar. Thank you very much. Up the Villa.